cool would it be if Zoro was the next Ryuma? How cool would that be if he turns out to be the person with the bravest warrior soul, and while Luffy's off taking care of Big Mom with Sanji, Zoro and Law and everybody else is left to deal with Kaido? And how cool would it be if we got an exact, remake of that final panel of monsters of Ryuma cutting off the dragon's head with Zoro and Kaido? Only difference being that Kaido was now the dragon and Zoro was Ryuma.
You love to see it. Hey, what is going on, everybody? RogersBase here with my review of One Piece manga chapter 1002, Yonko versus the New Generation. Now, I first and foremost gotta say, it feels so good to be back to doing regular One Piece reviews. We've been doing combined reviews and live reactions over the course of the past couple chapters, just due to the fact that it's easier since I still have the copyright strike on YouTube. I'm not able to stream here, so I have to do my live reaction streams on Twitch. And considering the fact that we're doing live reactions to Attack on Titan's new season, and I'm starting Naruto for the first time, I've just been really busy, and so I wanted to combine them. But we're back to doing the separated review and reaction again, and I gotta say, I couldn't have picked a better chapter to do this with. This chapter was pure, unadulterated hype, getting to see more of Luffy and Zoro and Law and Killer and Kid versus Kaido and Big Mom. Getting that big W, handing the W to my past self. What did I say? That Zoro's attack could be the same as Ryuma's attack. He's gonna cut Kaido one day. Now, obviously, Zoro did not cut Kaido during this chapter of One Piece. But believe me, ladies and gentlemen, it's coming. Zoro, at some point, is cutting Kaido. I don't know if he's killing Kaido. I don't know if it's gonna be part of a larger attack where all the characters are coming together and they're gonna do it. But mark my words. By the end of the Wano Country story arc, Zoro will make Kaido bleed. No doubt about it. The way that it keeps being set up, the way that Kaido was pleading for somebody to cut him in the same way that Oden cut him. This chapter, seeing Big Mom telling Kaido, watch out, because she could see the aura being emanated off of Zoro's sword. Kaido even saying during this chapter, why does that sword remind me of Oden? And then getting to see Zoro in the exact same fashion as Ryuma in Wanted. This is literally in Wanted. I can't show the page because of copyright, but if you go look up Wanted Dragon Ryuma scene, in the exact same style with the one sword above his head, slashing down to the dragon. It's all there. It's all there. And you guys know this. I've said this time and time again. I love Sanji. I'm more of a Sanji person than I am a Zoro person, but I cannot help but hand Zoro a W during this chapter. Also, I gotta say, you know what? This chapter, despite the fact that it's called Yonko versus the New Generation, I actually feel like this chapter I was more impressed by the second commanders, by the first mates, basically, of the Supernovas than I was by the actual captains of the crew. Like, obviously, it was cool to see Law going in, doing that Gamma Knife attack against Kaido. I mean, we also got that line from Law that I think was pretty cool during this chapter where he's like, I don't know the way that a dragon's body works, but I'm pretty sure that's where the heart is, and then boom, going right next to him. That was cool. As a Law fan, it was cool to see. But honestly, I was just as hype about Law doing that as I was during the scene later in the chapter where Law was talking to Zoro and Zoro was like, yo, could you teleport me? Shambles up there, and Law's like, what do you think I am? I thought that was great. And Kid this chapter too, pulling a Space Jam. If you want to slam, welcome to the jam. Picking up Kaido, slamming him down after that Kong rifle from Luffy. And while we're on the topic of Luffy, I want to bring this up as well because this was a topic of contention during my live chat, during my live reaction. I looked this up. I wanted to be sure. Yes, this is technically a new attack from Luffy during this chapter. However, it's pretty much the same as an attack that we have seen already in One Piece Stampede. So the chapter obviously ends with Luffy using a Kong Gatling attack in Gear 4 against Kaido. Looks very impressive. I gotta say the art during this chapter was impressive on the whole. I think the action panels were really well done. But we see Luffy doing this attack against Kaido, and we've actually seen a very similar attack. This is similar to the attack that Luffy used against Bullet, Douglas Bullet, the former member of the Roger Pirates in One Piece Stampede. Only difference was in the movie, it was called King Kong Gatling. I do wonder if this was something that Oda knew in advance, and he knew a Kong Gatling something was coming, and so he said, I sort of want to differentiate the attack and sort of give a little teaser for what's going to happen in Wano, because honestly, that might be what he was doing. I mean, if you look back to One Piece Stampede, the ending scene in One Piece Stampede was that moment in which we find out that Raftel is not Raftel, but Laugh-Tail. So he did tease that, and if you think back to what we were at in the manga when Stampede came out, we were just a few chapters behind the Oden flashback where we got the full reveal of Laugh-Tail. So I do think this is something that Oda's thought about. I mean, obviously, Oda does this. He introduces things or teases things chapters upon chapters upon chapters from when they actually get implemented to the story. Excuse me, it was hype to see. I'm hiccuping because I'm so excited talking about this chapter. Another thing I want to mention, I want to bring this up because it was brought up during my live reaction chat, and I thought it was a really interesting thing. If you guys are not already aware of this song, there's a song by the Talking Heads called Psycho Killer. I was not aware of this, in which the song has a little choral verse that goes fa, 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 which is obviously the same as Killer's laugh, his signature laugh in One Piece that we've been seeing more of during the Wano Country story arc, due to the fact that obviously Killer has a Smile Devil Fruit, and the Smile Devil Fruit side effects makes him laugh, whatever. But I thought that was a really nice touch, and it sort of explains what was going on with Killer's attack during this chapter, because if you go back and watch my live reaction, I was a little bit surprised by that attack from Killer. Killer mentioning that, like, oh, the toughness of Kaido's scales, he's not going to be able to penetrate through them, and then we see him use that Sonic Scyther or Scyther Sonic attack. I'm still not really sure which one it is. I think it's supposed to be Scyther Sonic, but honestly, Sonic Scyther sounds cooler and would make more sense due to what I actually think that attack is. So it's not that Killer's blades were literally slicing through Kaido, because if that was the case, like I mentioned during my live reaction, Kaido would be sashimi right now. He'd been sliced up, put on top of some rice with a little bit of soy sauce. That's not what was going on here. I'm assuming, especially based on all the ties to the stuff with Psycho Killer, that it has something to do with like a sound wave attack. Maybe it's the sound waves emanating from his swords. Maybe it's something like that. But again, I'm not really sure. I'm still looking at the page, and it does obviously look like the swords are going through, but I really think that's supposed to be, you know, representing what's going on with the sound wavelengths. But again, you can let me know and argue with me in the comments down below. I would love to know your thoughts on what was actually happening with Killer's attacks. But yeah, Killer and Zoro, I gotta say, both held W's during this chapter, holding their own, proving they deserve to be on the rooftop. I don't know if you guys watched Brago's video all about like the top 30 strongest, but there was a whole meme going on in that video with rooftop feats and the characters that are now there suddenly getting a giant power boost. And honestly, it was a funny meme during the stream, but now that I'm reading the chapter and now that the fight's going on, I'm like, maybe there's something to that. Maybe we should be watching out for these characters. Now, obviously, we should have always been watching out for these characters because at the end of the day, they're the supernova. They're the ones that are going to change the world, naturally. So obviously, they're going to be powerful. It's not like I was sleeping on Killer or Kid or any of these other characters. It's just something that you need to take into consideration when moving on through this fight. However, there is one other thing I want to say. I want to say this because it gets brought up in my comment section time and time again. People keep asking me, despite everything that's going on in the story right now, do I still think that Act 3 is going to end in tragedy? And I still stand by what I said all those years ago when talking about Wano Country, the 5-act structure. Yes, I still absolutely, positively believe some type of tragic thing is going to happen to end Act 3. We're going to start Act 4 with the Kaido flashback and then move into the actual attacks that will start to really damage Kaido, and Big Mom will finish up that fight, and then we'll get a little bit of denouement in Wano Country and then move into the final story arc. The denouement will happen in Act 5. I stand by that. I know there's a lot of people who think that Act 3 is going to end in a success for the Straw Hats and their allies. I just don't see it happening right now. I don't. There are too many moving parts. It's very easy to get caught up in the hype of the moment right now because we've got all these characters on the rooftop, but you have to take into consideration all the other things that are still at play in Wano Country. We've got the Tobi Roppo there in Onigashima. We have Orochi seemingly dead, and yet we get Fukurokuju all those chapters ago walking back, seemingly hearing something, most likely going to his old master, meaning Orochi's potentially maybe still alive. We've got the stuff with Momonosuke, Yamato. There are a lot of moving parts in this story arc that I do think that people are forgetting about, and I think we're going to see more of those fights when we do eventually move into Act 4. Think of it sort of like Dressrosa, right? Where you had multiple fights against Doflamingo during Dressrosa, but realistically, the fight that took Doflamingo down was that final fight in which we get to see Gear 4. It wasn't that tag team. As cool as it was, the tag team fight with Law and Luffy that wasn't really what ended up putting down Doflamingo. And so again, really cool to see this tag team fight going in against Kaido and Big Mom, but ultimately, I do not think this is going to be the fight that takes them down. I do think the fight that eventually takes down Kaido will happen in Act 4 after something happens here. Maybe one of these characters is going to die. Maybe one of the Rooftop 5 will end up getting killed. I think that would be a great way to end off Act 3 in terms of some type of massive tragedy. Then again, though, I don't necessarily feel like I need any of these 5 to die. I feel like them just getting washed by some type of attack from Kaido and Big Mom that we're unaware of right now could also sort of have the same effect. Speaking of attacks we're unaware of, that God of Lightning attack from Big Mom, shooting lightning all over the place. Now, naturally, of course, Luffy, our protagonist, has rubber powers, so the lightning's not going to affect him. But at the end of the day, when you think about that attack, and how much damage that could potentially do. Think of how destructive Enru was during Skypiea. When you've got somebody as powerful as Big Mom, utilizing a god lightning attack, sending lightning bolts down from the sky. I mean, the characters that are there right now all have things that could attract lightning. You got Zoro with his swords, you got Killer with his swords, you got Kid with all of the scrap metal that he amassed to create that giant Puck Gibson mech thing. They're gonna get obliterated. The only one that can really stand up to her at this point is Luffy. And that scene near the ending, I was half expecting an Enru face from Big Mom, where Luffy pops back up and he goes, "The reason your attack isn't affecting me is because I'm rubber." And then he flies through Kaido's blast breath again. And Kaido's like, "How is the fire not affecting you?" And he says, "Guts? Guts? This ain't Berserk, Luffy. Guts is not an explanation. How are you flying through the blast burn attack?" Again, cool to see Luffy really holding his own against these Yonko. It's really cool, basically taking him on 2v1 by the end of this chapter. Really hyped to see. Ultimately, I just think this was an awesome action chapter. Great moments from Killer and Zoro. Great moments from Kid at the very beginning with the Slam Jam. Awesome to see Law going in with the Gamma Knife against Kaido. And then, of course, the giant Kongan attack from Luffy at the very end of the chapter. You love to see it. Really, though, the thing that got me the most hype upon rereading the chapter and looking over everything again was that attack from Zoro. Seeing the one-handed sword attack from Zoro, reminiscent of Ryuma's attack against the dragon in Wanted. The same attack with the Zoro-Ryuma fight. I just like, it's all coming together. It's all coming together and it's glorious. And there's no break next week. Thank God there's no break. We're going right into it on February 7th. Things are good. Things are looking up. One Piece is great right now. I'm excited to see what's going to happen next. Again, I do still think Act 3 is going to end in tragedy, but we're going to have to wait and see as to what that actually means. Also, I didn't even mention this. We sort of skimmed over it because we were talking about the stuff with Zoro, but I want to bring this up one more time too. That panel of Zoro slashing off the horn of Onigashima. Oh my God. That is going to look so good in the anime. All of this is going to look good in the anime. If you haven't been watching the One Piece anime recently, go watch the One Piece anime. The animation's stellar. The pacing's been a lot better. Oh my God. When we get to that scene in the anime, and you got Zoro Enma'd up with all the aura of Odin coming off of his sword, slicing at Kaido, Big Mom screaming for Kaido to get away, Kaido dodging the attack, and then you see the slice against Onigashima, it's going to be unreal. It's going to be unreal. Zoro fans are eating this week, let me tell you. All right, enough of that. I'm done with my review. I'll be back next week with another live reaction and review. I'm just happy that we're actually separating these again. I know there's some people who do prefer the reaction review format, but ultimately, I'm happy to be back to where we are right now. I like having them separated. So I hope you enjoyed this review. Leave a like on this video if you liked anything I had to say. Of course, leave a comment down below letting me know if there's anything I missed talking about in this review or what your thoughts are on this chapter. If you still think that Act 3 is going to end on a positive note. I just don't think it's going to. I really still think it's going to end in tragedy. There's too many moving parts in Wano country, and I do ultimately feel like we still need a Kaido flashback. And there's no way, considering the Big Mom flashback that we got in Whole Cake Island, that we're not going to get some type of Kaido flashback in Wano country. There's a lot to be said there. We still don't really know the true origin of Yamato. We need to find more about what Kaido's intentions are in Wano country. There's a whole bunch of stuff. So I want to find out more about that in Act 4, and I think it's most likely going to happen. I won't be upset if it doesn't. You know, I'm here for the ride now, Oda. You got me with Act 3 of Wano country. I'm here for the ride. The hype is at a fever pitch. I'm enjoying it. Again, let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. One other quick thing I want to bring up right at the very end of this review, because I forgot to bring it up earlier. If you want to follow my live reactions until the strike lifts in March, all of my One Piece manga live reactions happen live at 8 a.m. on twitch.tv/RogersBase. Make sure you are following me there if you want to catch them live. Of course, I'm always going to post them to the main channel right afterwards, but if you want to be there live with all the excitement as the stuff is happening, make sure to follow me there. And the other thing I want to mention, because a lot of people won't normally check my channel on Wednesday, I want to make sure you guys find this. If you have not been following me on Twitch, you might not be aware of this, but recently I finally picked up Naruto for the very first time. People have been asking me and begging for me and pleading for me to finally start my Naruto watch through. I have. The last thing we just ended off with was Naruto versus Kiba. Part 1 of my full recap series of Naruto is going to be posted this Wednesday at noon Pacific time, so make sure to check the YouTube channel on Wednesday if you're at all interested in Naruto. And with that, now I'm finally going to leave you guys. I'll talk to you a little bit later today with my live reaction to Attack on Titan's newest episode, and that's going to be a good one too.